Okay. Okay, I mean, it'll be long if you ask a lot of questions, which is fine. So today we're actually talking about Rails API, creating a Rails app without HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. So I already created it. I'm going to remove it. Okay. Hiện cũng chịu khó nghe nhá. So the idea is this: I create a new Rails app, and Rails new. The name of the app now, you may, whatever similar to what you want to name. Some people may call it something like backend. So for example, I can call it to do backend, and someone can build a front end, the mobile part. I see that this is a little bit of a pretty common naming scheme, but it's really up to you. So I call this, let's say, to do backend. Now, -t means skip all the test folder stuff. Okay? Huh? Test, right. So capital letter means don't put it. When you do API, then you do --API. --API is like -J, which is skipping all the JavaScript stuff. Remember, -J is skipping the whole JavaScript setup, which is rare. Why do you do that? You can skip CoffeeScript this way, but I am going to skip all of the API, the front end. Okay, so I think that's it. Why do I do -T?
To skip the testing.
Yeah, but why? Because we're going to use RSpec. Well, it's just more common. What you see, any example you Google, like they use RSpec to do all this API-driven tests. Why not? Because it comes with beautiful formatting. Remember, I showed you guys how to show it in HTML, right? And etc. Okay, so let's start. If you don't have the internet, right, the first step of the project will get here and then it's stuck. Right? And then you go into the folder, you can run bundle install again. Okay? If you create a web with a new project with React, remember the Webpack option? If it fails because of Node.js or internet, you will have to run the Rails Webpack install command. So, what is an API? Okay, API, what does it stand for? Application Programming Interface. And this is such a term that it can be used like for so many things. It just means that in general, it means that anything that gives you some syntax to call.
For me, currently, it is like a JSON file and some syntax.
Yeah, so let's get to that. That is the specific. An API, we heard like, oh, there's a DOM API. DOM JavaScript API. DOM is what? Document Object Model. And that is, this DOM API gives you the function like document.getElementById, etc., right? And so basically, API is just something that gives you an interface, application programming interface. So you can write code to call those functions. In the web, something called the backend API. It means that over the network, HTTP network, most often, you can make call HTTP get /messages or post to messages create. Okay, so that's called a RESTful API. And then RESTful API basically is defined around the 4 actions here: get, push, post, delete. Okay. And you can say what the resource is. A resource can be a message or a user or anything like that. API is like you and I are talking in English right now. That is the API. The data is that will tell me, hey, these are the things I need. I need a laptop, I need a terminal, I need blah, 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 and I receive that. Okay, I heard you. That's the data.
Yeah. So the way I understand it, and tell me if that's correct, is basically computers are like, they're smart in some way, but they're also dumb. So
Yeah.
when I talk to some piece of software or some computer or a server, I can't just tell him whatever. Like, hey, I want like that and that file. Like, he doesn't understand what I'm saying. Like, I need to be able to tell him in a way that he understands. So I need to know like what language is he speaking, and I need to speak in that language. Like, give me these files in this way. And then, if that language is JSON, like because of the API, then he knows, oh, he sent me JSON, I know exactly what to give him back. If it's a different language, like RESTful stuff, and I say, hey, for this resource, give me this stuff, then he understands. And he's like, oh, okay, here you go. And the API is just the agreed upon way to communicate. Is that correct?
I like that. The idea here is we have to agree on a few commands. Agree so that we can have each command explained. How do you create a new message? You can say, make me a message with this content, create a new message with this content, set up a new message with this content. If we don't agree, there are so many ways to say it, and only human can talk to human this way. With the computer, Oscar said it's dumb in the way because it's dumb, it's so powerful. Everyone has to agree that the only way for you to create a message is sending a post to messages endpoint with the params, which is body is hello, and it's just exactly it. And then there is API docs, right? Documentation that say if you need to create something, go there, do that. There's no other way. And if we can agree on that, we can improve. Does that make sense as API? So it's super powerful. That's why learning programming is so it's just like so empowering, because if you search, for example, here, programmable web, here it lists down the APIs that are available on the web, and there's so many of them. Sometimes it's just really fun to browse what is available out there. So how do you normally work with APIs? Sign up for an account with that place so they accept your API request. Read the docs so you can learn the language. So you can make the API request. If the website that you sign up for uses REST, they have RESTful API, you just need to learn one thing and you can guess the rest. You can guess pretty much everything under most of the things you need, because this is the convention. Okay? The first thing you can guess, it's almost like a rule. If you go by a GET HTTP request, does it change any data? No. If you want to create something, what protocol should you use? Right? Protocol is HTTP, method is POST. If you delete a resource, you use delete. Right? They make sure just to avoid a mistake. Okay? Updating and deleting, they look very similar, both going to an ID, but one is put, one is delete. Show is like that, but show is get. So it's an extension of how you learn a language by knowing some basic rules, and you can extend that. Now, some people don't use RESTful, that's fine. Then we have to learn a new set. There are a few. Okay? There's like API training. How do you create API? But the experts design API for big companies. You can benefit from that. If you work on your product and you want it to be powerful, you give it an API, and then more people can extend your work. Okay? And Ian, you're very good at front end. Understanding API allows you to tell the back-end person, hey, I would like an API endpoint for this. I would like you to give me an endpoint if I post to this URL, you send the user an email. Okay? Something like that. Cool. So with that understanding, we're going to just focus on API now. We're creating a Rails app. I just did this. It's only API. Now, similarly, first step is committing this so that if you make any changes, right, you will know. Second is to open this up, and I'm going to explain to you the structure. Now, just take a look. Everything you expect, except, right, there is models, and this is the layout here is only for the mailer. You guys see the application.html.erb? No. You can still use this to send email, and that will need the view, so that's why you have a mailer stuff here. If you do dash something, maybe dash M or something, it may skip the mailer. But an API could still do mailer, that's why we have it here. Jobs here is something that handle background job. Sending an email can be a job that then a different process will send it. But the Rails server doesn't take care of running that job, which I will cover next week. So, and here obviously I don't have any database yet, so I haven't created one, I haven't generated any model. Okay, so let's try Rails generate scaffold. Maybe I'm gonna just create a to-do. To-do is like you can create a to-do title, like remember week 2 today or next week, and after that we have the to-do items. Okay, maybe I call this list.
If we do scaffold, isn't it going to generate a bunch of files we don't want?
I don't know. Let's see. So if I create a scaffold now, do you guys see what's happening? It is so clean. It doesn't have any view stuff.
Yeah.
And this is one good way again to learn from one of the just the existing code we can learn from. By now, I need you guys to feel really comfortable about this one. If you go here, what do you see inside? It's a migration that create a lists table, but there's nothing in there. So you're like, whoops, I created a scaffold with model list, but I forgot to tell it what column it is. So, maybe my list title, is that okay? It's a string, right? Or you can say, created by, this could be user ID, or in this case, maybe it's a string. Okay, name of the person who creates it. I don't have a user account, so I have 2 fields. So you all know this, right? You all know the model, and that's it, the route and the list controller. Let's take a look. First the migration, right? No surprise there. The list, model. When you click here and you don't see it, refresh. Sometimes VS Code doesn't have it. No surprise there. What do you want to do here? Validates presence of what? Title. Right? So no surprise there. Let's look at the controller. Yes. After you migrate, you will have the schema file. So let's do that. Rails DB migrate. But before I migrate, I need to. Great. And in the meantime, I'm going to look at the list controller. Okay. So let's take a look at this list controller. We're creating this Rails API, and we all agree by now on the internet that JSON is just the best way to communicate back the data. And it's structured data, key, value. JSON is key and value. Very similar to JavaScript object, very similar to Ruby hash. Let's look at the controller here. If you read this, do you understand? Doesn't look too bad, huh? So it is rendering an array of lists. If you go here, it's rendering one list. If you go here, if the list is successful, it renders the list when you create a list, and then it has a status created at a record. This is an HTTP code. We will take a look, and then this is this is in the case that it's an error. You have a different HTTP code. HTTP code 200 is it's a general success. Sometimes it can be success in a sense that, hey, successfully created something. In HTTP and HTML, if you get visit in HTML, you tend to just get 200. And then you see the HTML rendered, and you can use flash messages to display the notice. In API, you can make it more rich by saying whether it is success, HTTP status now means a bit more. It's more important. So, like status is, created or invalid. Okay, I think this is 422, and then this is 201. Let me just see HTTP status. So Rails, like for example, I can type created at like unprocessable entity. You can look this up. So HTTP status, right? I just mentioned. Normally we get HTTP 200. That's okay, success. You see status okay or not. This is the same as this, guys. Status okay. That's always the default. But if you say, hey, actually I want it to be cool. Look at all these success one, 200 something. I can say status created, and it's actually 201. That's a status. Unprocessable entity is 422, like I just said. Anything that is under 400 is the client does not have the permission to get the result. Anything is under 200 means it's all good, man. I give you the data. I understand your request, right? Sometimes it can be even like, hey, I understand it, but there's no need for you to receive any data. For example, when you like a post, I could just say no content because you know what to display, right? 500 is anything here. It's just the server is like freaking out. Client, you send something that just crashed my code. I may be crashing because of the code you write, or I may be crashing talking to someone else. I integrate with Facebook and then I crash. But at least you know that there's all this stuff. So it takes time to understand these things. I've never seen like the 100 errors really, but you see, 300 normally is just the standard one. When you go to a page, it redirects somewhere else. When it redirects, it gives you the status, right? Normally you will get the 302. It's like, oh, you go to this page, okay, I'll redirect to another page for you. Go to home page, no problem. I redirect you to the newsfeed page. That's 302. So a little bit about HTTP goes that way. Beside that, you can ignore this one. Beside that, you guys can understand the whole controller, right? What is set list here? What is set list? It's just finding the list from the URL. And where is it? It's used in before actions. If you need to show a list, if you need to update a list and destroy a list, you can do that. And I told you I don't really like this way. I prefer calling it right here because it's just clearer to me. It's the same, okay? But I don't want to have too many before action. Alright, so it's up to you. It's your preference. We generated the code, so we should be able to see something, right? How do we test this? Anyone? I'll show you a few ways that we can test this. The first way is that I run the Rails server, okay, and I go here. When I press enter, what do we see?
You're running Rails.
Right, because we don't have anything. Let's look at the routes. Cool, we have that. Let's see what routes we have. List path. These guys. How do I get the first one? Listing the list. Huh? You guys, did you learn it last week? Okay, that's exactly it. Now, because this is the default mode, so when you visit this, it's the same as telling Rails the format is JSON. That's the beautiful part. So obviously, you don't need to put JSON everywhere in your code. Okay? Now, where's the lock? If I go in here, you see that if I go to list, right? Even though it's processing like this, it's actually rendering JSON because my list controller, I don't have respond to do format, right? Format.html. I only have format.json, and it's in here like this. If your Rails app is doing both API and normal stuff, then you will write code like this. But because it's only doing JSON, then all of this code can be deleted. Are we clear on that? By the way, if you start adding HTTP like this, it will not work. This Rails API gem, this Rails API it's actually driven by a gem. It doesn't have any view helper and all this extra stuff. If you go to application controller, you will see that it inherits from action controller API. Is different from your application controller base. But that's the extra bit, just for those who are curious. Yes, Lo, you have a question?
I thought about it.
Cool. So go back to this. All right. How do we start seeing some data, guys? So how do I see some data here?
Well, we can create some in the console.
All right, let's create. Now, first, did you guys install the plugin that I asked you to? The JSON Viewer Chrome extension. Otherwise, the thing will look quite ugly. And second, I'm going to now. I forgot how to do this. So, oh my god. Suddenly my brain is just blank. Okay. It doesn't happen to me, man. Alright, so let's create some. Okay, so someone help me create a list. Huh? Today, this is create at, let's say, call doing, right? Created by Ian, right? So let's look into this, and now you have that JSON. It is quite beautiful, right? You will learn the extra stuff about how to decide what attribute to display here. You may not want to tell the user who this is created by.
This is JBuilder.
JBuilder can help you do that. Okay? Then you delete this line and it will look at index.jbuilder, .json.jbuilder. I'm going to skip that for now, and then for this app, we just display everything. Is that okay? Great.
Could I also create it using the URL now? Create a new list?
That is the good question. That's why it's we need to learn the extra stuff now. How can you create?
Well, we still have the resources, right? So I think we can go to /list/
Okay. Slash. How can you send a post request?
all right. It's
Can you? You could maybe create an HTML page somewhere, not on this app because it cannot display HTML. Just create it somewhere and send a post. Let's see what happens, right? So I am going to use Postman instead. Oh, it asked me to update. Okay, so Postman, let me just delete all the stuff I have here. I have too many projects. Oh, this is not good. I'm going to show all my projects. That's probably okay. So Postman is an app that's just one of the most popular, right, app for API-driven application, and people who develop on mobile know how to use Postman very well. Or if you're the back-end people, sometimes you want to create Postman collection for people to use. You can use it to test your own work. Okay, I'm going to create a new collection on Postman. You don't have to. What did I do there? It's funny, huh? I click here, open a new window. That's not what I want. So I'm gonna call this is my to-do. What is my app name? Guys, what's my app name? To-do backend, okay? So to-do backend. You don't have to do this, but if you put all your requests in here, it's a little nicer. Now I'm going to create a new request. Check this out, right? New request. It's very similar to HTML there, except you have access to all these other protocol posts for that method. So I'm going to post to HTTP localhost / 3000 / what? Let's do that first. Let's build a get, and I click send, and you get exactly this. And you can learn a lot more about the web because you can click on headers and you see what's going on here with these extra header attributes. They don't make any sense to you now, but when you start working on a project for long term, you will be able to understand one thing better than another thing. So, for example, here this is predictable. It's a JSON content type, not HTML application type / HTML, not an image like image / PNG content type. There are many other content types. Okay. There's some other attributes here about the way that should be the data should be transferred over the internet. It should be encrypted or not. It should be compressed and then decompressed or not. Okay, that is nice. Let's try posting something. Yeah? Alright, so I'm going to post to the same URL. But to post, I'm going to click it, send it right here. And then you will see some errors. Okay, so 400. Okay, anything in the 400 is not good enough. You want it to go to 200 or 200 something. So let's look at the error here. It will tell us where things are right now. Line 51. So I'm going to go to the controller. Create. If it's saved, if it's not saved, then here's the error, right? Where's my 51 though? That's not good. Where's my 51? Right. So if you post with nothing, the app is going to crash at require list. That's fine. Let it crash. Bad request. The client did not send the right thing, right? But it crashed in a way that say, hey, bad request. That's fine. People send bad requests all the time. This is good. Now the next thing is if you send, I'm going to post some JSON, raw JSON format. Now what if I send this list, right? I'm going to send list and then send an empty list. Are we good? So we have params list. Don't give up on me, yeah? You still following? If I post this, it's similar to, okay, it's similar to when you have a form here, going to action, this is like this, and method post, right? I'm just writing here, this is not the place to write that, okay? And this is, remember you have input, type, let's say text here, name is post name, for example, right? Let's say title. This is your HTML. If you submit this form, you will submit it to params. Your params will be equals to post title, for example, hello, because if the user enter the word hello here like this. Okay? This is what you learned so far with HTML. Thank you. See? Only takes one person to not fall asleep. Right? The rest of you, please wake up. So, thank you very much. So we have the value here, and then the name here is how you decide this, right? So technically, what if I also, so that is post. So technically this is list. I want to create a new list with a title, hello, right? That's how you do it in HTML world. So this is list. In our JavaScript world, you can send whatever. But if you send anything that the server doesn't understand, you send like blah here, it just say bad request. That's fine. I'm going to send a list, but I put nothing in it. Check it out. Uh-oh. It's still bad. Oh no. Let's see what we're receiving. It doesn't understand the key and value. This list here, params list. Do I have that? Yep. So okay. Param is missing or the value is empty. We still have that problem. So I'm gonna try one more time with.
Is it because we do validate?
No, it's still failing at this line.
Yeah, but it permits title, like so.
I'm not sure if. One thing that we don't have is the Rails web console where it just stopped there for us. I could show you how to make it stop right here so you can type it. Okay, maybe I can show you that right now. Technically, okay, I'll show you later. Add the debugger there, but it's okay. It's just too much noise. I am going to try maybe to create something like this. I think I'm doing something wrong, so let's see. Oh, snap. So params dot permit, and then it didn't find these things, it crashed as well. That is still fine. You give me a bad request, man. Now I just give you a good request. What is a good request? Params list, and inside there's a title or anything. It's emptied and it still doesn't like it. So, did you guys see what happened? I just created a second list. If I go to now, look, I can create a different tab and you can save all of this. So this becomes your API documentation if you like. I can save this query right now. Okay. And I save it to the collection to do backend. And I save this at request name. For example, I say create list. Okay. You see that? I am going to create a new request here. And I'm going to call this get localhost /2000 like this. By the way, you can set a variable, so this you can change it to your Heroku URL or anything, so you can test. Now, if I submit, do you guys see that we have two things here? And then I can save this guy as maybe listing, right? It's really up to you. My naming here is not very good, so I create. I might just keep the original naming, which is post URL, get URL. So you have this whole collection. Okay, I can even share you guys this collection, and when you run on your Rails server, you can just go here and hit each of these endpoint and send a request. Okay, does that make sense? Or have I lost you? Have I lost you? So if I share with you this link, you can import into Postman. You will have this, and you can just start clicking here to test. Okay, so let's create the third one. I create a done list, but now with created at, created by we, for example. So this is posting. I have this, it returned this. What's happening? Because it will go to create and it renders successfully. So that is Postman. You can do the same thing with delete. If you know the ID, so I'm going to create one more thing. I'm going to call this one delete. Let's say I want to delete 1, okay? Localhost / 3000 / list. Now I need the ID, right? So what is the ID I want to delete? Maybe let's list these guys one more time. Click here. How many lists do I have? This guy doesn't have a created by, so I'm going to delete 2. I'm going to send delete 2. No need to submit anything in the middle. Send that. Do you guys see nothing here? If you delete, let's go and look at the Rails log. Send delete, params ID 2. It returns no content. Why does it return no content? Oh, I see. Just list destroy and there's no render. Rails automatically tells you, hey client, I finished the task, but I have nothing to give to you. You know what happens. Okay? If you delete it again, watch. Press delete it again. Okay, before I do that, I'm going to show you exactly what the content is. No content, but you can still look at the response. Yeah. So where's my response? Here. Status, no content here. You still get time in. Okay. Server successfully processed the content, but it doesn't give you anything. Request one more time. Right? 404. That's fine. It's like you visiting a page that doesn't exist anymore. Either you don't have the permission to delete this guy, so I can just say, hey, not found, all right? I'm telling you a lie, right? You don't have permission, so I want to say this it's not found. Or it's really not found because someone deleted it. Or it's really not found because the ID is wrong. So in this case, it cannot find, and the status is not found. And Rails take care of this for you. Rails take care of it when you run, go to destroy, go call setlist. Setlist will try to find, but if it's wrong, it cannot find it. It throws you the error and gives you 404. Beautiful. You don't even have to take care of it. Does that make sense?
Can I Facebook Postman and try to delete the post?
Yes, you can. Well, it's harder because technically, if you use a Rails form, Rails has a form token. The token will prevent another person from faking. Yeah. So if you want to work as an API, Rails doesn't check that token. You have to implement your API token to make sure who the user is. I will show you later. Right now, it's very unsafe. Why? Anyone can delete anything. Okay? If you want, and of course, for now that's like that, but normally people pass in an extra thing when you work with API. pass in the header here. And then here you can pass in the token 1, 2, 3, 4. And in the Rails controller, it will check you have the token in the header. Then it will allow you to access. If not, it will just give you, access denied.
This token is a token inside the form.
Not inside the form, inside the header. If you sign up for GitHub API and various places that you can use Postman with, they will give you instruction how to set the token here. Okay? It will be a very long string. That's why you need to sign up for an API before you use it. So they give you a token. So you put in your header. Now all the requests just keep that token. If that token expires, then create a new one. There's a lot more I can talk about API authentication. There are a lot of ways, but for now, that is the concept. That's the understanding. If you implement your API, just check the token this way. That's good enough for a lot of users. Okay?
It's today JavaScript.
It is.
Yeah.
What's going on, guys? Everyone's looking at the ceiling, looking at the feet and desk. Are we still learning API?
Yeah, we are.
All right.
This is the first time I understand API.
Okay, good. Giving you time to digest.
Do the lab, man. The lab is amazing. I did it myself.
I know I go to the lab.
All right.
I still understand.
But the lab doesn't give you, lab is reading that. That's why I'm hoping that this give you the understanding by seeing. That you can ask question now, but a few things if you're the type that like to do it first, that's okay. But I really want you to try when you can, yeah?
So as the code, because this is like a very simple example, but as it gets complicated, like the actual code we run through here is going to get more sophisticated as well, right?
Sure.
Like,
that's why we had to start with a simple case so we can understand what it is. People build, so when I work on an API, I tend to use some library to provide the API interface so people can just fill it in. I can show you later, which fill in like this. I can show you later, right? And it will probably blow your mind away is how powerful this thing is. That is using Postman. Okay? You can download Postman, you can go to some web and you can start sending API requests like this. It's powerful. If you use external API, real production API, you will have to follow the instruction to set up the authorization. Otherwise, they will not give you. Okay? Some pages does give you without authentication. So maybe let's say MovieDB JSON API. This is our iOS class. Guys, so pay attention to this one, okay? Our iOS class, we have, one of the things, first thing we do is to build an app that browse the movies, the latest movies. So you need a back-end data, right? So here, you still, starting from version 4, we do need the API, but I'm going to explain to you how to use it even. The really ugly way, well, the powerful and the developer way in the command line is use curl. I'm going to show you a better tool. Curl, you don't have to install, just there, right, in a lot of computer, Linux based. But I'll show you a better one. Now, let's get this API. I want to find Loy and Tan. Can you guys find me some API without JSON, without authorization? Authorization. And let's see anything that doesn't require it, so I can show you in a simpler way. Maybe version 3 here. I don't know. GitHub. You can listen JSON. So here's another example. GitHub give you the API endpoint without authorization. But if you request it too many times, what happens? it only gives you a few times per minute.
That's how
So it will start blocking you.
it's not going to make money when
No, it's just to prevent bots from doing crazy shit.
using the APIs. Limited request.
That is just to prevent it abusing it. If you want to use a lot of it, you need to register an account. So now I can know who you are, who's the one who abused me, and I can block you more easily. If I allow everyone under the sun to do it, how do I block people? That's why a lot of people just force people to use API authorization. Some other just say, I give you just maybe 10 requests per minute. I think that's what GitHub does. Okay? I'm going to show you right now. This is the API endpoint that they provide. For example, listing the organization of these users. Okay? Now, Postman, create one URL like this. Go here, paste here, press send. Oh, it has no public user. So, public organization. So this is me, for example. Okay? Guys, you still seeing this? So this is my organization, and then you can put yours in here. For example, who want to put Vader what? Huh? 1359. So I can see your organization. You don't have any public organization here. Let's see anything else that's interesting. Maybe API that's listing, right? This is your account and GitHub. This is the public information anyway. If you go to github.com/Vader, Vader1359, you see his picture. You see his public repository. And look, this API thing allows you to get all of that. And from here, you can follow certain URL to get more. Right? It will list your followers and everything else. Here, if you click here, yeah, it's nice. It takes you to a new tab. Right? So that's why you want Postman, because on the browser you cannot change this, and you cannot control what the request is. Right? What do you send in the header? What do you send in the URL? Okay. If I just click a few more send here, by the way, the IP will be blocked for a few minutes. Then if you really want it, you need to use authorization. Okay? An example of authorization I can give you is this. For example, if you create a developer account, then you can send a request by setting the header. So I'm going to revisit this later. I will show you another tool that will just really easy and beautiful way to do it from the command line. It's called HTTP. It's better, be more beautiful than curl. HTTP. How do you install it? Well, sorry Windows people, I'm not sure how, but you can just use Postman. Yeah, there's a Chrome extension. Or, look, there's you can install on Windows too. So after I finish installing, I'll show you how it works. Let's read very quickly here. So on Windows, you can use it by Python. This is pip is like the bundler is for Ruby. Well, gem install something. Ruby's gem. Python is pip. So how do we use it? You can just, instead of visiting things in the browser, you pasting the URL here, you just go to the terminal and type HTTP. Okay? Localhost 3000. If you go here, right now I don't have any endpoint, right? You get, this is, there's nothing there. So, and then if I go to list, I don't have a server. Huh. right? So I need to have a server here first. So I'm gonna. That's different. That's in Ruby. This is in terminal. Sure, you can do that in Ruby. The gem Ruby that I showed you last time is to allow you to write code in HTTP like this. Inside a place like, maybe here, you can type http.get, go to some URL like this, and then this is your data, right? And this is your data, and you can do whatever you want with the data. Here, I'm showing you that it's outside the Ruby world. This is the terminal, the terminal or the Postman interface, okay, or the browser, but the browser can only do the GET request, so browser is not useful here, right? Cool. So HTTP list, you ready? Do you guys see this? Isn't that beautiful? And isn't that even better than Postman? You can write code and then check everything here.
I like Postman.
Yeah, so Postman allow you to save stuff. Better or not is your preference, right? This is fast and great. So how do you post? This is even faster than Postman. Do you think? Let me try. And it's really, they try to write it in a way that your brain will just agree. Like, this is the API that the HTTP provides you. So I post to this URL. What do I give it? Title equal. It's understood as params. So this is done. Let's say I have a done list created by. This time I created by Ian. Okay. Press enter. Do you guys see it? And you guys see all the content back? And now if you list how many, this is the same as get, because get is so common. How many do you get? 3, right? I deleted the number 2, and now you get this. Now some of you just realize that, oh, I thought doing just API only is boring because I cannot do ERB, I cannot have CSS, I cannot make it beautiful. But look, we can use tools that make it look beautiful. So with just all these advanced, little libraries, we know what to use. We can be super productive. So the ability to just think about what I need, what I want, and I want you to ask actively, right? Oh, it takes too many steps to check if my code works. Can you show me a better way? Okay? I just show you that you can create a new app with Rails API. I use scaffold to show you how to write code to create something, but you can write it yourself. And I show you that you can send a request and you see how it works. You can use Postman to send a request and save all your requests, so in the future, you can send them again, or you can share with your friends. If you work on backend, you want to tell the front end how to use your backend, you throw at that guy, hey, here's the Postman collection, you can try. If anything doesn't work, let me know. If you write the front end and it doesn't work, and my Postman works, it means your front end is the problem. Cool? All right. So, what do we do today? Do you want to work on the API thing? Lloyd did that one?
I personally did that one already,
Yeah. So it's good. So that one you will revisit aspect. So in the next hour after, from now until lunch, only give yourself that much time. Don't do more than that. Work on this one. Some others I would check in and make sure you work on your final project wireframing. Okay, Ian. So I'll help you with the final project stuff. All right.